So I want to try to talk about Christianity and business today, economics today. Um, you know, I feel like there's a lot of Christians who they condemn business, they condemn profit, they condemn money, which is strange because they don't condemn the wage earner. They don't condemn the people at the bottom. They only condemn the people at the top. But without the people at the top, you wouldn't be able to pay the people at the bottom. It's almost like there's this disconnect between what Christians say when it comes to money. They warn the entrepreneur, they warn the small business owner, they warn the CEO about the dangers and the perils of making money, but they commend the wage earner. Now, why this disconnect? On the one hand, you might say, well, it's because of the amount of money that they're making. Well, if that's true, then Solomon is in hell because he's the richest man who ever lived. So stop it. I don't believe it's the amount of money that's the problem. But my question is, why do Christians condemn the entrepreneur and the people at the top, but not the people at the bottom? Okay, why? If it's the amount of money, then I don't buy that. Is there another reason why? You might say, well, they're dedicating more of their time to their business than they are God. Okay. Well, first of all, I'm not entirely sure that's true. But even if that is true, you could say, okay, fine, yeah, they are. But I don't think that's true. You're not going to have a wage earner without somebody paying the wage. Okay? So why is the wage earner more holy than the entrepreneur? Is the wage earner really spending more of his time reading the Bible and with God, or is he spending his time drinking, watching television, and doing other things? The assumption is that the business owner isn't spending any time with God, or what if he's doing what God told him to do? What if God told him to start a business? Yeah, I don't understand why Christians, they focus so much on being anti-entrepreneurial and anti-this, anti-that. It's almost like they think that they're the only people who focus on money. But the wage earner's focused on money too. I mean, Judas was not a rich man. And Judas was condemned because of his attitude toward money. So I can't understand why Christians are so anti-entrepreneurial, anti-business, anti-CEO, anti-growth. Okay, I don't understand that. And what I'm saying is, God requires us to work until He comes back, until He returns. He requires us to labor until He comes back. Paul condemned people for being lazy, laying around waiting for Christ to come back. He wrote a letter to a church saying, listen, y'all are being lazy. Stop laying around waiting for Christ to come back and get to work. So why does the church condemn entrepreneurs when Paul told people to get to work? I don't get it.